Hey there, Viking MtG here. I'm trying to restart the channel, that's the first thing I will say. This time I will just start with commentary and stuff like that, and as soon as I make the video recorder work, I will start the Cube New series again. In the meanwhile, I will try to give at least weekly commentary on whatever is happening in the Magic the Gathering world. And yeah, well, let's start with the first one that I have been trying to get off my chest since long, and this is the question of the reprints because I am a big modern player, and I've been always looking for ways to get some cards from here and there without spending too much money. I know modern is a expensive format, and yet, as we will see, there are some things that should have been taken into account for that. So let's first start with the why of the reprint. Well, the reason I'm going with this video is mostly because of the recent Conspiracy Take the Crown set. And we have had a lot of reprints on this, and pretty nifty ones on top of that. No, Berserk, Burning Wish, Show and Tell, Birds of Paradise, Inquisition of Kozilek, Serum Visions, Platinum Angel, and the list goes on. No? So there is a lot to take out of this. No? And this makes me extremely happy. So this little commentary won't be really a criticism towards Wizards of the Coast. It will be more like a little analysis of what is happening with this whole reprint policy. First off, what are the policies really? Reprints do have a lot of reasons to be there. The first reason is that they put availability in the market. This means that there will be more cards, and thus they will get cheaper, especially for cards that are part of the what we call staples, cards that should be in most of the decks, or in certain decks that are very iconic and stuff like that. The reprints should thus make accessibility easier. No, it should reduce the price too. No, I don't mean like I don't want formats that cost like 1 cent a card. For this, we have Budget Magic and Commander until a certain point. No, but it's important that we take into account that even in the most expensive formats, having a few cards that cost less, especially some of the general staples that you can find in most decks, except lands, but that will be another discussion, should be within reachable grasp, because it will help to motivate the people to buy the cards and to try to complete the deck, and feel even more special when they get the occasional Tarmogoyf. Also, another important thing is at the end, if Wizards wants to reprint cards, they do it to sell sets at the end. No, they officially have stated that they don't look at the secondary market, but sets like Conspiracy, Modern Masters, Eternal Masters, and sometimes some of the standard sets that have come out show that they are paying attention to the secondary market, because it helps them greatly to get people to buy the sets, to buy the cards, to draft them often, many other things. No, so whenever this reasoning comes up, I always say, nah, that's not true. However, there are another two reasons why they don't reprint cards. I will mention the first one, that is one of the most recent discussions. It's the idea of having powerful cards in Standard. They usually cite the case of Thoughtseize that really warped the meta during Theros block. I don't think that it's really that's. I mean, I know that Thoughtseize was a really strong card and everything. However, I think many other cards in the right setting should not be too powerful, such is the case of Inquisition of Kozilek um, during the Battle for Zendikar block. Some people have argumented that it would really warp the meta, but For me, it would just be another answer to like balance out the current standard that is based around most of the human cards. No, at least you could have a shot against the banned company decks at the moment by discarding, well, things like Sylvan Advocate. I mean, a collected company would still work just fine, but at least you could get some early answers. No, and it would be in every black deck and stuff like that. So I don't think that, for example, Imposition of Cosilic was too strong for the format, especially in a block dedicated to huge creatures. I mean, what could it hit more than just a few ramp targets and a few removal spells? And those are not even that strong, no? And the other reason that especially Maro has cited is flavor reasons. They say that the flavor is very important and that if it doesn't fit the flavor, the card should not be there. And they will try to fit it according to it, but the problem of this is that, again, Imposition of Cosilic would not be reprinted in any other set just because of that. So I thought it was a big miss when they didn't reprint it during the Out of the Gatewatch block, which was the Cosilic set technically, but they decided not to do it. There was no space. They wanted to do more Devoid, stuff like that. But I do think that it was a very sad occasion. Luckily, we have Conspiracy too. No. Now, interestingly, a way that Wizards lately has tried to cover the reprints is through these special summer sets, the Modern Master sets, the Eternal Master sets. Set because we still have one, but I don't doubt that they will repeat it at some point. Modern Masters is specially designed for what the whole theory of modern is, no? Modern, different from Legacy and Vintage, does not have a reserve list, and they specifically made it to be able to reprint cards, to put more availability to the cards, because one thing that is that Legacy is suffering right now is that there is no way to get Lion's Eye Diamonds other than paying hundreds of dollars at the moment, and especially the buyouts have been hitting really hard. And so Modern should be this eternal format that, well, it's not really an eternal format, but this eternal format, let's say, that should be able to reprint every card that would be important for the set. And thus they have shown in the last two Modern Masters edition with the constant reprinting of Tormaggoyf. No? However, a problem with those two sets is that they have a very limited print run. That's the first one. So they don't really give anything else to the market. This means that there will be no availability, and thus cards like Tarmogoyf, instead of going down, have been going up because more people want to play, and thus the cards get more expensive. No, other cards have been getting cheaper, but for example, me who plays Affinity, definitely Mox Opal and stuff like that have not changed very much in price. They have been going up. Right now they're in a little downside trend, but still, I mean, they haven't helped very much to controlling the price. At least not in most of the cards. No. Secondly, they are built to, first off, they are built to be a limited set, so they can't put every card in there. So usually it takes a 2-year cycle to get a few new cards of a few new staples into the market, and this usually limits even more the reprint policies. No. It is it creates this problem that there is not enough supply, no, and without enough supply, well, there is not enough cards, and thus the cards get even more expensive. Besides, if they would put every expensive card in each set, the package should cost about $100. No, every booster pack should be $100 and stuff like that. So they try to even out the prices. Which they failed in Modern Masters, the first edition. It had too many good cards. They failed in Modern Masters, the second edition. They had too few cards that were really like good, well placed around the common, uncommon, and rare and mythic sets. They put everything into the mythic, and then they had this what many people call the crappy mythic, of which I opened a lot. So definitely it was a huge letdown to get a $10 pack just to get a 50-cent mythic. No, in Eternal Masters, I think they just got it about right. No, I mean, even though you didn't get like something that evened out the price of the booster, it was a good card. I mean, Death Right Shaman, those cards were very good, and I would like Wizards to follow the example of Eternal Masters during the now announced Modern Masters 2017 edition. Okay, now something I do want to criticize, and this is very important, is that the flavor reasons that Merrill gave about a year ago just failed this time in Conspiracy. Supposedly, we wouldn't get cards in places where flavor was important, and Conspiracy is one of those places. And yet, we got Inquisition of Consulate, Serum Visions. We could argue that a little bit, but still, it has this Beldaken on it, so Beldaken are not part of Fiora. And Phyrexian Arena, things that do not appear at all in Conspiracy. No, I mean, I'm very happy that they reprinted it, especially in a set that is not that limited like Modern Masters or Eternal Masters. However, I do think that they broke their own rule. That I hope it was only Marrow that said that rule a year ago, and decided to print them in Conspiracy. Honestly, I'm very happy about that because now Inquisition of Consulate won't be a $20 card. It can be now the cheap Thoughtseize, or it is used in many decks, not especially in Modern, because it hits most of the cards that anyone will play. And well, I mean, Phyrexian Arena is maybe not that expensive, but it's a nice card to have, especially for Commander. And there's surely one or two Modern decks that play that. No, then Serum Visions, well, it's a staple card, and the way they reprinted it in the Friday night promo was not precisely the way I would have handled it. It doesn't like really supply the market, and now with this, even though they shifted them up in rarity, except for Phyrexian Arena, it makes more sense, and this way the cards don't get too much in the way of the draft, but at the same time they will start filling up the market a little bit more. And for all those that say that the art of Inquisition of Cosmic is terrible, don't. I think I love it. It's very aggressive. Yes, it has nothing to do with what's really happening, but at least it's one of these brutal cards I would like to play with as soon as I can get my hands on one or two copies of that. No? Okay, so in general, I think the problem of Conspiracy was the flavor fail, not the rare shifting, not the fact that they reprinted them. It was just this thing about flavor. They insisted for a year that they would not print anything out of flavor, and here it is. And well, this what does this mean at the end as a conclusion? Well, we're waiting still for a very important reprint. I mean, there are many cards that have appeared in the future side sets that should be reprinted. Some of them have found their way. I mean, Narcomoeba was one of them, which has now exploded because of the new Dredge, modern Dredge deck. But you know, there is this card that has been one of these things that many people wanted for so many years, and they have failed once and again to put it into some reprint sets like the From the Vault series, and especially when they released From the Vault and Annihilation. It didn't have Damnation, which was I think one of the best places to reprint it. They didn't do it in Modern Masters 1, Modern Masters 2. I don't know if Eternal Masters would have been fitting or Conspiracy would have been fitting, but anyway, we're still waiting for it. We're hoping that this March, when Modern Masters 3 comes out, it will be reprinted there. But in the meanwhile, well, we'll have to wait for this reprint. But these are the kind of reprints we want. Liliana of the Veil, which hopefully comes in the next Modern Masters, because it will finally cover Innistrad, original Innistrad, and that we can get some... I don't want the cards to cost 50 cents. I mean, I'm okay if it costs $50, $60. And if the Armago, if it still costs 170, I mean, it's that card I will never play because I'm not ready to pay that price. And there are plenty of competitive sets, competitive decks that can be expensive. But I do think that it should be a little in the affordable range. With that, I mean um, that you have some basic cards that are played in many decks, and you can get them for about $10, $15 maximum. And this way, start building the deck, and then move on to build the rest by getting those rare cards that feel premium and give you even the bragging rights, because that's part of Magic, that you have expensive cards, that you have something that has value. Because if the value drops, most people won't play the game anymore. This is something that is required, but still, I am not totally in favor of playing with like Legacy with $500 cards, or Vintage where they have like Lotus. I mean, that's something most people won't be able to play and even get their hands on, because you know the supply is extremely limited. Anyway, Modern was designed to generate a way to reprint cards so they could sell sets like Modern Masters, and I hope they take advantage of it, even though it has this 2-year cycle, which, in my opinion, is perfect. There shouldn't be more often, because some the cards have to rise in price and give and still keep this modern interesting because of these expensive cards, no? But also, decks shouldn't be all expensive. I mean, um, I do think that there should be some limits on some cards, that things like Serum Visions don't cost $8 because they're very basic of tax improv. I really am waiting for a reprint for that. Things like that, and that well, the market can even out. Not that the $1,000 deck can keep at $1,000. Maybe get up a little bit with the years, and then get down a little bit again, and get up a little bit again, and things like that. It's a very complicated explanation. I don't want to really go into, but Wizards in Conspiracy has shown that they have loosened these reprint policies, but I don't know how far it will go, and I hope they will keep it for a longer time. Well, this has been Viking MTG, and well, I leave you with these thoughts, and be free to comment and subscribe.